Job chapter 1, verse 1. There once was a man named Job, not Job, Job, who lived in the land of Uz. He was blameless, a man of complete integrity. Now, the King James says he was perfect, not sinless, but he was upright in that day. He was walking in an upright fashion. So he was blameless, a man of complete integrity. One of three that are mentioned in the Bible, Job being one of them. By the way, this is the oldest, as far as we know, the oldest known written book. So anyway, he was blameless, a man of complete integrity. He feared God or respected him and stayed away from evil. Verse 2, he had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels. There's that number again. 500 teams of oxen and 500 female donkeys. He also had many servants. He was, in fact, thank you for the sound check, Johnny, the richest person in the entire area. So first off, a lot of people think this is just a story to let us know that a faithful man lost everything and stayed faithful. Although that is the truth, the story's much deeper than that. So he had everything, but he was also considered the most perfect, you could say, guy of his day. Very wealthy, but also a very upright man. And there's a reason why I'm sharing this with you. He also had many servants. He was, in fact, the richest person in that entire area, spiritually and monetarily. Verse 4. Job's sons would take turns preparing feasts in their homes, and they would also invite their 3 sisters to celebrate them. Seems like a loving family, right? When these celebrations ended, sometimes after several days, Job would purify his children. He would get up early in the morning and offer a burnt offering for each of them. For Job said to himself, perhaps my children have sinned and I have cursed God in their hearts. And have cursed God in their hearts. This was Job's regular practice. So look, what kind of man is that he went ahead and sacrificed for the sake of his own kids in case they messed up? That's a dad right there. Think about that. This was Job's regular practice. Can you imagine that? But Satan's allowed to test Job. This is a very interesting study right here, so pay close attention. One day the members of the heavenly court came to present themselves before the Lord, and the accuser, Satan, came with them. Satan's called the accuser of the brethren. Keep in mind, one day the members of the heavenly court, so celestial creatures, angels, we're going to find out that also Satan was there, but Satan was there on a short leash, almost like he was submitting to God, you'll notice. So he was going to and fro, we're going to find out. He was allowed to move through in heaven. He was allowed in heaven, but at a certain way. One day the members of the heavenly court came to present themselves, in other words, reporting to God before the Lord, and the accuser, Satan, came with them. Where have you come from? The Lord asked Satan. Not as if he doesn't know. He wanted to see what Satan would say. Satan answered the Lord, I have been patrolling the earth, watching everything that goes on. And the King James says, I've been going to and fro in the earth. So he was given free reign to an extent while in heaven, going through the earth. So God, but he was still reporting to God. Keep in mind, notice that. Then verse 8, this is a key verse right here. Very key verse. Then the Lord, and we'll keep going. The Lord asked Satan, have you noticed my servant Job? Or in the King James it says, have you considered my servant Job? He is the finest man in all earth. He is blameless, a man of complete integrity. He fears God and stays away from evil. Now, at first glance, you could say, well, man, geez, thanks a lot, God. Job's like, hey, test my... It looks like God's like, well, test my guy here. Have you tried out Job? And I can see Job like, oh, well, I appreciate that. Thanks for putting me the test. That's nice of you, God. That's not what's happening here. Bible teachers teach that, and I've seen this many times. There's like, well, God allowed a test. Well, he did. But what's actually happening here in the King James, it says, if you consider my servant Job. Another way to put it, if you understand the Greek, the context of the Hebrew, it actually is the same as saying, I see that you've noticed my servant Job. Meaning, God's letting him know that I know that you've noticed the uprightness of my servant Job. And basically, God knows that there's lots of witnesses in the heavenly court, and God knows this. So as a lesson, God allows Satan to test Job, not because he wants to put Job through it, but he's like, if you consider my servant Job, to let Satan know, I already know you're thinking about my servant because you want him to reject me. You're going to test him, and you want him to reject me in front of all my celestial hosts, the angels that learn from what they see happen on earth. You want them to doubt me as God. So you're testing. So you want to test a guy that has everything to say, look, he gave it to you because you gave him, he only serves you because you gave him stuff. So you know what, Satan, go ahead. It's not that it's not that God suggested, hey, test him. He wanted Satan to know that I already know that you're considering my servant Job. So yes, I'll let you test him. But we're going to find out you can't take his life. You can't hurt him. So watch this. Not at first. So verse 8, 1 key. Then the Lord asked Satan, have you noticed my servant Job? He is the finest man in all the earth. He is blameless, not without sin, a man of complete integrity. He fears God and stays away from evil. Very interesting. Don't mix up that verse. Verse 9, Satan replied to the Lord, yes, I considered him, but Job has good reason to fear God. Well, of course he trusts you. You give him everything he wants, God. That's what he's saying here. Verse 10, he says, you've always put a wall of protection around him and his home and his property. You have made him prosper in everything he does. Look how rich he is. See, he only loves you because you gave him stuff, right? Remember, there's a celestial host. There are angels in abundance watching this whole thing going on, including Satan, who, by the way, is reporting to God. Keep that in mind. You've always put a wall of protection around him, God, right? And look how rich he is. Verse 11, but reach out and take away everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. Now, he does complain, but you'll find out Job never curses him. So, he'll curse you to your face, God. Go take it away and see what happens. Okay. All right, God says in verse 12, all right, you may test him. The Lord said to Satan, do whatever you want with everything he possesses, but don't harm him physically. So Satan left the Lord's presence. And I did this in a Bible study teaching, but we're going to give you a little bit of both. We're going to mix the two together because that's what Bible reading is Bible study. Verse 11, but reach out and take away everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. All right, you may test him, the Lord said to Satan. Do whatever you want with everything he possesses, but don't harm him physically. So Satan left the Lord's presence. He was going to go test him. So Satan takes Job's property and his children. Watch this next part. One day when Job's sons and daughters were feasting at the oldest brother's house, some kind of get-together, a messenger arrived at Job's home with this news. Notice a messenger, because you're going to see this repeated over and over. A messenger arrived at Job's home with this news. Your oxen were plowing with the donkeys, feeding beside them when the Sabians raided us. They stole all the animals and killed all the farmhands, all their workers. I am the only one who escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, another messenger arrived with this news. So during him getting that message, another one comes up at the same time. The fire of God has fallen from heaven and burned up your sheep and all the shepherds. I am the only one who escaped to tell you. Wow, back to back. Boy, Satan didn't waste any time, did he? Verse 17, while he was still speaking, a third messenger, there it is again, arrived with this news. 3 bands of Chaldean raiders have stolen your camels and killed your servants. I'm the only one who escaped to tell you. So 3 different witnesses, if you will, 3 different messengers, if you will, letting him know back to back that things have been just continually taken from him. Well, verse 18, while he was still speaking, another messenger arrived with news. Your sons and daughters were feasting in their oldest brother's home. Suddenly a powerful wind, that's a hurricane, tornado, swept in from the wilderness and hit the house on all sides. The house collapsed and all your children are dead. Holy cow. I'm the only one who escaped to tell you. So as you can see, Satan took that and ran with it, right? Wow. Job stood up, verse 20, and tore his robe in grief. We read throughout the last part of the Old Testament, putting dust on their head and tearing their clothes was a type of mourning, right? We've read that several times. Then he shaved his head and fell to the ground to worship. So he shaved his head off, part of the mourning thing. Verse 20, Job stood up and tore his robe in grief. Then he shaved his head and fell to the ground to worship. I love that. He's mourning, but he's worshiping. He said, I came naked from my mother's womb, and I will be naked when I leave. Wow. The Lord gave me what I had, and the Lord has taken it away. Now, there's one thing I want to point out. Praise the name of the Lord. I hope you guys are listening. Job partially got this right. It's true. The Lord can take away, and he gave him everything he has. But notice, even though he was praising the Lord, praising the name, notice the little boo-boo right here. The Lord gave me what I had. Not that part, but watch. And the Lord has taken it away. Wrong. See, we say, well, the devil did this. The devil made me do it. Sometimes the devil does things, but sometimes it's us. But guess what? We have proof. Does God control the weather? Typically. But there are times God allows the weather to be controlled. You see, in this case, Satan controlled the weather and God allowed it. So when Job said, the Lord has given me what I had and the Lord has taken it, he is wrong about that. So he loves the Lord, but he is misunderstanding the Lord God. And this is going to get bigger and bigger. You guys, this is an amazing book. Please listen to this book. He's going to gradually start to, as time goes on through 30 chapters, he's not going to quite understand how God works. But as this thing goes on, he's going to hear from 3 men that are supposedly his friends. And he's going to start to have a deeper understanding of what God actually looks like. But the whole time, he never curses him. So he says, well, the Lord's taken away. No, the Lord didn't cause the storm. So in verse 22, he doesn't cause all the storms. That's not true. And all of this, Job did not sin by blaming God, though. So chapter 2. So now he's going to go after his health. So Job chapter 2, verse 1. One day the members of the heavenly court, these are celestial creatures all witnessing this, right? It's in heaven, came again to present themselves before the Lord. And the accuser, Satan, came with them. Notice Satan's reporting again. Where have you come from? The Lord asked Satan. He already knows. He just wants to know his answer. Satan answered the Lord, I have been patrolling the earth, watching everything that's going on. So when you wonder how these demons, when you guys are doing all this, people are doing all these mediums and necromancy and thinking you're talking to your dead relatives, when really you're talking to a demon, because your dead relatives ain't going to be talking to you. Sorry to offend somebody. But listen, I've been patrolling the earth, watching everything that's going on. So when you get into these crystal balls, and it's going to offend somebody, but I love y'all, but I'm going to tell you the truth. Truth doesn't care about your feelings. When you start messing around with stuff, I want you to know something. The reason why the enemy can attack us and his demons know how to, they can't read your mind, but they know how to get to you. Why? Because they've been watching you since the day you were born. So when you think you're talking to somebody that's a dead relative, you might want to think again, because that's anti-God. Where have you come from? The Lord asked Satan. Satan answered the Lord, I have been patrolling the earth. That's how he knows. He's been patrolling, watching you since the day you were born. Watching everything that's going on. Do you guys see that? He's learned. He's learned. He can't read our minds, but he watches and he learns. But also, notice these celestial creatures are also, if you read the book of Acts, it says because of the angels. Actually, I think it's here too. Because there are heavenly witnesses. They're learning from us. Do you guys get that? Satan's just not good at learning. So he asked Satan, have you noticed my servant? I already read that. So then the Lord asked Satan, this is kind of a repeat, an echo. Then the Lord asked Satan, have you noticed my servant Job? He is the finest man in all the earth. He is blameless, a man of complete integrity. He fears God and stays away from evil. And he has maintained his integrity even though you urged me to harm him without cause. Satan replied to the Lord, skin for skin. Watch this. This is an amazing book of the Bible. A man will give up everything he has to save his life. Now he's like, wait a minute. Okay, you took his stuff. We'll take his health from him. Yeah, then he'll curse you. He'll turn on you. Skin for skin. A man will give up everything he has to save his life. I don't know. You tell him he's got COVID. He'll get a shot to save his life. No offense to anybody, but I'm telling you the truth. Fear is how he gets us. By the way, the opposite of love is not hate, it's fear. Hate's a byproduct of fear. Skin for skin. A man will give up everything he has to save his life. A man gets a little uncomfortable. You squeeze him. He's an orange. See if orange juice comes out or see if something else comes out. Put a little pressure on him. A little disease. He'll cave in for anything. He'll take anything you hand him. He'll inject anything in his body that sounds like it'll fix his problem. Matter of fact, when he's lonely, he'll take any woman. If he's a man, anything that makes him feel better. And to those women, they accept every man in the world. Some of them do, because they feel like they've been beaten and hurt and emotionally wrecked by other men. So what do? They reach for the one that makes them feel like a father figure, that treats them like a woman. But she's giving up everything she has, her dignity, her consideration, all the things she should be listening to for a feeling. So he says, Satan replied to the Lord, skin for skin, a man will give up everything he has to save his life. Verse 5, but reach out and take away his health, and he will surely curse you to your face. Remember, we have heavenly witnesses watching Job being tested by Satan with God present. And Satan wants him to fail so that his witnesses don't see him as God anymore. But reach out, verse 5, and take away his health. He will surely curse you your face. Verse 6, all right, God says to Satan, do with him as you please. The Lord said to Satan, but spare his life. So now you can, not just what he has, now you can hurt him, but you can't kill him. Notice the increase. Notice that. You can't kill him, but spare his life. And I also want you guys to notice, I'm not trying to camp out too long, God holds the keys. Satan is not control of anything. You guys need to hear this. Listen to me. Actually, I want Satan to listen to me. You have no control. Greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world. You have no control. I hate it when somebody goes, well, the opposite of God's the devil. Are you kidding me? Hold on a minute. Nothing compares whether opposite or the same. There is no comparison to God. If you want to say the opposite of like Satan, maybe Michael. But how do you compare anybody to God? There's no opposite. There's no comparison to God. Listen, dark is only there because the light's not. When the light is off, darkness is there by default. It has no power. Satan has no power. Now he has power when we let him have power, but to God he has no power. So what does he do? He goes to God's Son. Can't get to the Dad, go to the Son. So Satan left the Lord's presence. Glory be to our Father in heaven. That's right, in Jesus' name. So Satan left the Lord's presence. Notice this. I knew this was a teachable book. That's why I wanted to get some done tonight, because there's 19 chapters, and there's going to be a lot I'm teaching. Notice this. Satan left. The other celestial creatures are in his presence. Again, I knew I was going to spend time on these first couple books. Satan left the Lord's presence. Notice this. And he struck Job with terrible boils from head to foot. Terrible boils. I want to point something out, that when you have a crown of thorns, the kind that Jesus had on his head, it causes extreme blisters and boils. That type of wood, when the poison hits you. I just want to point that out. And he has boils on his, terrible boils from head to foot. Just want to point that out to you. Anyway, verse 8, Job scraped his skin. This is not, by the way, this is not self-inflicted like suicide. It's not that. Okay, this is just, he's in anguish. So he left his presence. So Job scraped his skin. He's just like, oh, he's in this junk heap, this junkyard place with his bald head, mourning, just like, oh, he's got boils and he's just in his own misery. He scrapes his skin with a piece of broken pottery, representing death, right? The potter's field, as he sat among the ashes. This is a type of junkyard. You follow me? The place of death where there's burials, the potter's field. Think of it that way. His wife said to him, are you still trying to maintain your integrity? Curse God and die. And we're like, wow, what a wife. Listen, she wasn't handled as well as Job. But listen, I don't know. If you're her and you lost everything you own and your kids, you might do the same thing. So don't be too quick to judge her. Right? Yeah, think about that. His wife said to him, why are you still... A lot of us would say the same thing. Curse God and die. You don't need God. But Job replied, verse 10, you talk like a foolish woman. That's what I'm talking. That's a man right there. Should we accept only good things from the hand of God and never anything bad? So in all this, Job said nothing wrong. Here's going to be the teachable moment tonight. Listen to me. Please don't miss this. Job, we think of the book of Job. It's important, I promise, of this book where a faithful man, he stayed faithful and lost everything. And that is true. But here's what's overlooked almost always. Look at this, verse 10. You talk like a foolish woman. Even though he just suffered, he's like, no. Are you expecting God to only do good things? He's a judge. There's going to be bad things too, right? He allows bad things. Listen what he says. Should we accept only good things from the hand of God and never anything bad? Now, his heart, in one sense, is right. Sometimes there's going to be bad with the good, but I don't want it to look like he's expecting that God does bad things. So in all this, Job said nothing wrong. So he didn't curse God. But I want you guys to notate this. We think of Job being faithful and had everything and lost it all. Very, very faithful. But here's the meat and potatoes. Are you ready for this? You guys ready for this? Because this is going to rock your socks off. Job was one of 3 people listed upright in his day, the most upright. So literally perfect. Outside of sin, he was the most upright guy of his day. So if anybody's good out there compared to you and I, Job is a much better man than us, right? Keep that in mind, a much better man. He's also much wealthier and has way more to lose than we do. And he loved his kids. He even sacrificed for his kids. Keep that in mind. A guy that loved his family, loved his kids. God gave him everything and blessed him. But God allowed everything to be removed from him. Why am I telling you this, folks? And listen closely. Come closer to the camera here. I'm telling you this because it is a story. Yet it's a story about a man that stayed faithful even though he lost everything. But more importantly, it's to let us know that the blessings we get are not based on merits. Let me say this again. The love he has for you, the things you have are not based on what you do. This is not a works-based gospel. Grace is something he's given you no matter what you've done, no matter who you are. He's no respecter of persons. Let me say this a different way. God doesn't care what you've done. He loves you because that's what he does. He gave us this story to let us know that even a guy like Job, who you would think would have all the right in the world to deserve the best, still lost everything. At least now he did. But he stayed faithful, even though he complained. The story's telling us that we're not exempt. If Job's not exempt, stop asking, why does God allow bad things to happen? There's a plan. You just don't get it. Proverbs 3 says, lean not on your understanding, but acknowledge him in all your ways. Trust God. Don't look at the current situation. Well, Israel, they're doing all these bad things, and so it must not be Israel's lands, and it must be replacement theology. No, nonsense. Just because they're fallen doesn't mean he's not coming back for them. He said he would. Well, if that's the case, all of y'all have no chance because all of us are fallen. We're so quick to call out ministries like people like whether it's Mike Winger, Todd White, all these Robert Morris, all these people that are said to do all these things, right? Look what they did. Look what they did. Look what they did. Are you serious? The same people are like, I can't believe that they set Barabbas free and killed Jesus. But we're Barabbas. Who are you? Who are you? Who am I to call out somebody else's ministry and say, look what they did? Are you serious? I'm more guilty than anybody in my area. You can't sit and cherry pick what you think suits you. Well, he has tattoos, but you have earrings. The point is, guys, and I'm going to move forward because I was just waiting to talk about these last couple of verses. The point is, this story is given to us to let us know it's not a works-based gospel. It's not what you do that gives you favor. Sin entered in the world, and now because of that sin, we are afflicted. We are afflicted by the nature of sin, by death, by pain, by suffering. He doesn't inflict it on us, but what you do doesn't exempt you from it. And he gives you this guy, Job, so if anybody's exempt, it's Job. But yet he doesn't just lose a few things, he loses everything except his life and his wife. So don't complain about, I did all these, I'm a good person. The Bible says there's none that are good, no, not one. The Bible says the heart's desperately wicked, who can know it? Oh, but my heart, it's how I feel. Oh, I love this woman. She makes me feel so good. We're not married. We're going to have sex, but I love her in my heart. Nonsense. You love her in your heart. You lust her in your heart. If you're sacrificing her purity to do what God asked you to do for your own needs, that's not loving her. That's lusting her. I'm telling y'all the truth, man. Don't curse the messenger. I don't like it either. I didn't like waiting on my wife for over a year to get married. I didn't like it. I hated it. But I did it because she was first. It's funny that, and I'm going to move, I know I'm taking a long time to read, but too bad. It's funny how we're like, well, that's my flower. I'm going to protect that. The girl I'm dating, she's, you're the wild lion going in a circle and you're going to protect your little flower so nobody picks the flower. But what about you? Who saves her from you? Enemy's greatest disguise is when he shows up as you. Who protects that little flower from you? That's a word right there. Job chapter 2 verse 10, but Job replied, you talk like a foolish woman. He's thinking right for the most part. Should we accept only good things from the hand of God? Well, yes, but the heart behind this has a good point, and never anything bad. So in all this, Job said nothing wrong, which is great. So there was a little mixture of good and bad there, but it's mainly good. So Job has 3 friends, quote unquote. I don't know if I'd call these guys friends, but the Bible says in the English that they're friends. Well, let's see if they're friends. Job chapter 2, verse 11. There was a lot to say. When 3 of Job's friends heard of the tragedy he had suffered, they got together and traveled from their homes to comfort and console him. Sounds good so far, right? Their names were Eliphaz and Temanite and Bildad. the Shuhite. You know, he was real short. Shuhite. That was a joke. Anyway, their names were Eliphaz, Temanite, Bildad, the Shuhite, and Zophar, the Namathite. You know, Joe Namath. No, it's another bad joke. Anyway, verse 12. When they saw Job from a distance, they scarcely recognized him. Because remember, he shaved his head and he was wailing loudly. They tore their robes. Wailing loudly, they tore their robes and threw dust in the air over their heads to show their grief. That's a mourning thing. So that they see him in the distance, they come to him, and he's grieving. Then they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and nights. That's fascinating. No one said a word to Job, for they saw that his suffering was too great for words. I knew going into this book this was going to be a big one. That's why I wanted to break some down tonight. I want you guys to see this because it's so important. This is really supposed to just be a reading, not a Bible study so much, but we're doing Bible study. I don't care. When they saw Job in the distance, they threw dust in the air. And so anyway, we'll read it again. Then they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and nights. They sat there 7 days. Why'd they do that? No one said a word to Job, for they saw that his suffering was too great for words. Here's the story. Don't miss this, guys. Sometimes your friend suffers such a loss, listen to me, that they just need you to receive their words like a sponge that soothes them. They don't need you to say anything. They don't need you to, sorry about your loss, and oh, you should do this, you should do that. Shh. Shut your mouth sometimes. I mean that lovingly. They just need you to sit with them. Your wife just needs you to listen. Believe me, I get this wrong all the time. This is a teaching to us. And here's the funny thing. These aren't really his friends. You're going to find out. So look right here. They saw Job from a distance. They scarcely recognized him. And when you go down, it says they sat on the ground for 7 days and nights. No one said a word to Job, for they saw that his suffering was too great for words. Chapter 3. At last, Job spoke. After 7 days, he cursed the day of his birth. He didn't curse God. He cursed the day of his birth. He said, let the day of my birth be erased and the night I was conceived. That's pretty obvious. Verse 4, let that day be turned into darkness. Let it be lost even to God on high, and let no light shine on it. I wish I wouldn't have been born. Let the darkness and utter gloom claim that day for its own. Let a black cloud overshadow it and let the darkness terrify it. Layman's terms, I wish I wouldn't have been born. He ain't happy. Let that night be blotted off the calendar like it never happened, right? Never again to be counted among the days of the year. Never again to appear among the months. Boy, he's saying some bad stuff about himself, but he never curses God. Listen, let that night be childless. In other words, he wasn't born. Let it have no joy. Let those who are experts at cursing, whose cursing could arouse Leviathan. We'll learn about Leviathan towards chapter 39. Curse that day. Let its morning stars remain dark. Let it hope for light, but in vain may it never see the morning light. He's just another way of saying, I wish I wouldn't have been born. Curse that day for failing to shut my mother's womb, where I wasn't born, for letting me be born to see all this trouble. Why wasn't I born dead, like a stillborn, right? SIDS, born in the womb. Why didn't I die as I came from the womb? Why was I laid on my mother's lap? Why did she nurse me at her breasts? Had I, in other words, nursed him as a baby. Had I died at birth, I would now be at peace. I would be asleep and at rest. Verse 14, I would rest. Notice he doesn't curse God, though. I would rest with the world's kings and prime ministers whose great buildings now lie in ruins. He'd be dead with the other people. I would rest with princes, rich in gold, whose palaces were filled with silver. Why wasn't I buried like a stillborn child, like a baby who never lives to see the light? For in death the wicked cause no trouble, and the weary are at rest. I could have just chilled, man. Even the captives are at captives are at ease in death with no guards to curse them. You know what's being overlooked here? If you're not careful, you'll realize that he's not mentioning or even understanding or even seeing the fact that there's something outside of death called hell. He's not even aware of it. Because what he's saying is not right. There is a place, there is suffering, there's things that happen. But Job, as we find out, is going to get more information as time goes on. So he knows about God, but his relationship with God is going to change. And there's a lot of us like this. This book has multiple lessons. This Job is us, with no guards to curse him. Rich and poor are both there, and the slave is free from his master. From a dead person, right? Oh, why give light to those in misery and life to those who are bitter? They long for death. And it won't come. You're going to find that out in the book of Revelation. The people that go through the tribulation are going to hide in the mountains and beg for death. There's an interesting parallel here. They long for death and it won't come. That's a terrible thing. You're not even allowed to die. There's parallels here, you guys. Pay attention. They search for death more eagerly than for hidden treasure in a mountain in Revelation. They're filled with joy when they finally die and rejoice when they find the grave. Why is life given to those with no future? Those God has surrounded with difficulties. You know, like why do I even live? You know, I have these, but then you see people like these ministers. There's a guy that lost his arms and legs, but he's the happiest guy on earth, and he's using his life for positive. I cannot eat for sighing. My groans pour out like water. What I always feared has happened to me. What I dreaded has come true. Verse 26. I have no peace, no quietness. I have no rest. Only trouble comes. Chapter 4. Then Eliphaz, supposedly her friend, his friend speaks. His friend. Then Eliphaz, the Temanite, replied to Job. Verse 2. Will you be patient and let me say a word? For who could keep from speaking out? In the past, you've encouraged my people. You've strengthened those who were weak. You're going to find out. It's like, wait a minute, you had all this good advice and now you're complaining? He's not giving. It's not what it seems like here. For who could keep, look, he says, will you be patient and let me say a word? For who could keep from speaking out? Verse 3. In the past, you've encouraged many people. You've strengthened those who were weak. Your words have supported those who were falling. You encourage those with shaky knees. That's why it's good to have context when you read the Bible if you know the story a little bit. But now when trouble strikes, you lose heart. You're terrified when it touches you. Well, you seemed all strong with other people, but when it comes to you, you just fall apart, Job. Wow, good friend, Eliphaz. You're a great friend. But now when trouble strikes you, you lose heart. You're terrified when it touches you. Verse 6. Doesn't your reverence for God give you confidence? Doesn't your life of integrity give you hope? Good friend, right? Stop and think. Do the innocent die when have the upright been destroyed? My experience shows that those who plant trouble and cultivate evil will harvest the same. You reap what you sow, right? A breath from God destroys them. They vanish in a blast of his anger. The lion roars and the wild cat snarls. But the teeth of strong lions will be broken. Verse 11. The fierce lion will starve for lack of prey, and the cubs of the lioness will be scattered. Verse 12. This truth was given to me in secret as though whispered in my ear. Verse 13. It came to me in a disturbing vision at night when people are in a deep sleep. Fear gripped me and my bones trembled. A spirit passed my face. It's interesting. And my hair stood on end. Ooh. The spirit stopped, but I couldn't see its shape. Listen to this. There was a form before my eyes. In the silence, I heard a voice say. Slowing down means I'm saying pay attention. Can a mortal be innocent before God? Can anyone be pure before the Creator? Do you guys hear what I'm sharing with you right now? Jesus declares us righteous later, right? And he's made sin for us. We are declared righteous through Jesus Christ, through faith in him. But at this point, can a mortal be innocent before God? Can anyone be pure before the Creator? Yes and no. Not yet. If God does, in a sense, if God does not trust his own angels and his remember there's angels watching him right now in heaven. If he doesn't trust his own angels and has charged his messengers with foolishness, how much less will he trust people made of clay? They're made of dust, crushed as easily as a moth. They are alive in the morning, but dead by evening, gone forever without a trace. Their tent cords are pulled and the tent collapses, and they die in ignorance. Chapter 5. Job 5:1. Cry for help, but will anyone answer you? Which of the angels will help you? Surely resentment destroys the fool, and jealousy kills the simple. I've seen that fools may be successful for the moment, but then comes sudden disaster. Their children are abandoned, far from help. They are crushed in court with no one to defend them. By the way, you're going to see these three friends have dialogues. These three friends have dialogues over and over and over, all the way to the last parts of the book, chapter 30. But you need to listen to the dialogue. It just kind of repeats itself, but there's some depth to it. Verse 5, the hungry devour their harvest, even when it's guarded by brambles. The thirsty pant after their wealth. Verse 6, but evil does not spring from the soil, and trouble does not sprout from the earth. People are born for trouble as readily as sparks fly up from a fire. If I were you, I would go to God and present my case to him. Listen to this friend. You should go tell him off. He does great things, too marvelous to understand. He performs countless miracles. He gives rain for the earth and water for the fields. He gives prosperity to the poor and protects those who suffer. He frustrates the plans of schemers so the work of their hands will not succeed. He traps the wise in their own cleverness till their cunning schemes are thwarted. So their cunning schemes are thwarted. They find it is dark in the daytime, and they grope at noon as if it were night. He rescues the poor from the cutting words of the strong and rescues them from the clutches of the powerful. And so at last the poor have hope, and the snapping jaws of the wicked are shut. But consider the joy of those corrected by God. Do not despise the discipline of the Almighty when you sin. For though he wounds, he also bandages. He strikes, but his hands also heal. From 6 disasters he will rescue you. Even in the 7th he will keep you from evil. He will save you from death in time of famine, from the power of the sword in time of war. You will be safe from slander and have no fear when destruction comes. You will laugh at destruction and famine. Wild animals will not terrify you. You will be at peace with the stones of the field, and its wild animals will be at peace with you. This is a prophecy, revelation. Listen to it. The animals will live together in harmony. You will know that your home is safe. When you survey your possessions, nothing will be missing. You will have many children. Your descendants will be as plentiful as grass. You will go to the grave at a ripe old age, like a sheaf of grain harvested at the proper time. We have studied life and found all this to be true. Listen to my counsel and apply it to yourself. You need to know this book is an amazing book of poetry, but it's a book of geography. It's a book of animals, and it's got all kinds of stuff. It's going to talk about dinosaurs and dragons and behemoth and all these crazy animals and the great fish. And just, you guys, this is a wonderful book. Chapter 6. So Job's going to reply to the stuff he just heard from his first friend. Then Job spoke again. If my misery could be weighed and my troubles be put on scales, they would outweigh all the sands of the sea. That is why I spoke impulsively, for the Almighty has struck me down with his arrows. That's not what happened, though. The enemy did. Their poison infects my spirit. That's little g. Oh, that's little spirit. That's his spirit. God's terrors are lined up against me. He's not understanding. That's not what happened. Don't I have a right to complain? Don't wild donkeys bray when they find no grass, and oxen bellow when they have no food? Verse 6, don't people complain about unsalted food? We're going to learn more about salt later in the book for sure. Salt, it's not just flavor, but it preserves. Salt has a lot of purposes. Does anyone want the tasteless white of an egg? My appetite disappears when I look at it. I gag at the thought of eating it. Oh, that I might have my request, that God would grant my desire. I wish he would crush me. I wish he would reach out his hand and kill me. At least I can take comfort in this. Despite the pain, I have not denied the words of the Holy One, but I don't have the strength to endure. I have nothing to live for. Do I have the strength? This guy's got it bad. Do I have the strength of a stone? Is my body made of bronze? Bronze representing judgment. No, verse 13, I'm utterly helpless. A lot of complaining, guys. Without any chance of success. Power, death, and life's in the tongue. Do you see what's happening? One should be kind to a fainting friend, but you accuse me without any fear of the Almighty. My brothers, you have proved as unreliable as a seasonal brook that overflows its banks in the spring. You hear this artwork, this beautiful poetry? When it is swollen with ice and melting snow, but when the hot water arrives, the water disappears. The brook vanishes into the heat. In the heat, the caravans turn aside to be refreshed, but there is nothing to drink, so they die. The caravans from Tema search for this water. The travelers from Sheba hope to find it. They count it, but are disappointed. They count on it, but are disappointed. When they arrive, their hopes are dashed. You too have given no help. You have seen my calamity, and you are afraid. But why? Have I ever asked you for a gift? Have I begged you for anything of yours for myself? Have I asked you to rescue me from any my enemies, or to save me from ruthless people? Teach me, and I will keep quiet. Show me what I've done wrong. Honest words can be painful, but what do your criticisms amount to? He's like, tell me, what did I do? What did I do? It's nothing he did. He doesn't understand. That's not how God works. Do you think your words are convincing when you disregard my cry of desperation? You would even send an orphan into slavery or sell a friend. Look at me. Would I lie to your face? Stop assuming my guilt, for I've done no wrong. Do you think I'm lying? Don't I know the difference between right and wrong? Do you hear, Job? Chapter 7, he continues. His life has no hope. He's going to talk more about it. Job 7:1, is not all human life a struggle? Our lives are like that of a hired hand, like a worker who longs for the shade, like a servant waiting to be paid. You see that poetry? I too have been assigned months of futility, long and weary nights of misery, lying in bed. I think, when will it be morning? But the night drags on, and I toss till dawn. My body is covered with maggots and scabs. He's in a landfill, if you will. My skin breaks open, oozing with pus. My days fly faster than a weaver's shuttle. They end without hope. Man, he is really letting it go. He is complaining, but you can't blame the guy. Oh, God, remember that my life is but a breath. Remember, his friend's not really a good friend. And I will never again feel happiness. You see me now, but not for long. You will look at me, but I will be gone. You think you've complained. I'm telling you what, Job did a lot of good stuff, but Job complained, man. Makes me feel better about myself. Just as a cloud dissipates and vanishes, those who die will not come back. You see? He said a few clues. God, you caused the storm. Nothing happens when I die. And look right here, verse 10. They are gone forever, for their home never to be seen again. He doesn't realize, says that when they die, they will not come back, verse 9. He does not understand who God is yet. Not yet. You see that? He's kind of got some of it right, but he ain't got it right. Verse 11, this is a story about us. Job is us. They are gone forever, except we're not perfect like Job was. They're gone forever from their home, never to be seen again. I cannot keep from speaking. I must express my anguish. My bitter soul must complain. I am a sea monster or a dragon that you must place me under guard. Oh, excuse me. Am I a sea monster or a dragon that you must place me under guard? I think my bed will comfort me and sleep will ease my misery. But then you shatter me with dreams and terrify me with visions. I would rather be strangled, rather die than suffer like this. I hate my life and don't want to go on living. Woo, boy, he's complaining. Oh, leave me alone for my few remaining days. What are people that you should make so much of us, that you should think of us so often? This reminds me of what is man that you are mindful of him? Does that echo? What is man that you're mindful of him? What are people that you should make so much of us, that you should think of us so often? You see that? For you examine us every morning and test us every moment. Why won't you leave me alone, at least long enough for me to swallow? If I have sinned, what have I done to you, O watcher of all humanity? Why make me your target? Am I a burden to you? Why not just forgive my sin and take away my guilt? For soon I will lie down in the dust and die. When you look for me, I will be gone. Then Bildad, it's the other friend, verse 8, Job 8:1. Bildad, the Shuhite, he's short, replied to Job, how long will you go on like this? This is other good buddy. You sound like a blustering wind. Oh, way to make him feel better, Bildad. Does God twist justice? Does the Almighty twist what is right? In other words, you must have done something wrong, Job. Your children must have sinned against him, so their punishment was well deserved. Your kids must have done something. Sorry about your kids. Well, they died because of something they did. They don't understand God either. But if you pray to God and seek the favor of the Almighty, and if you're pure and live with integrity, in other words, all you have to be is good, a good person, right? He will surely rise up and restore your happy home. It's all about works, right? And though you started with little, you will end with much. Just ask the previous generation. Pay attention to the experience of our ancestors. For we were born but yesterday and know nothing. Our days on earth are as fleeting as a shadow. But those who came before us will teach you. They will teach you the wisdom of old. Can papyrus reeds grow tall without a marsh? That's for tree, paper, papyrus trees. Can marsh grass flourish without water? While they are still flowing, not ready to be cut, they begin to wither more quickly than grass. Verse 13. The same happens to all who forget God. The hopes of the the hopes of the godless evaporate. Their confidence hangs by a thread. They are leaning on a spider's web. They cling to their home for security, but it won't last. They try to hold it tight, but it will not endure. The godless seem like a lush plant growing in the sunshine, its branches spreading across the garden. Its roots grow down through a pile of stones. It takes hold of a bed of rocks, but when it is uprooted, it's as though it never existed. That's the end of its life, and others spring up from the earth to replace it. Wow, they're just like, everything's depressing to him. But look, God will not reject a person of integrity, nor will he lend a hand to the wicked. He will once again fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with shouts of joy. Okay, at least there's some good in the bad. What an awful friend who also like hits you in the mouth and then he gives you a kiss. It's like, wow. Those who hate you will be clotted with shame, and the home of the wicked will be destroyed. Wow, that's a confusing friend. Chapter 9. We're going to move on here. I'm going to get a drink of my, baptize my tonsil. We all good? John, good sound check? You having fun? Sound check, Johnny. You there, buddy? Are you awake? I don't blame you if you're sleeping. I'm just saying if you're awake. Anyway, moving on. Job replies, There is no arbiter. Chapter 9, Job chapter 9, verse 1. Then Job speaks again. Yes, I know. This is to the second friend, Job's third time he says something to the friend here. Yes, I know all this is true in principle, but how can a person be declared innocent in God's sight? If someone wanted to take God to court, would it be possible to answer him even once and 1,000 times? Me too, man. For God is so wise and so mighty, who has ever challenged him successfully? Without warning, he moves the mountains, overturning them in his anger. Good. He shakes the earth from its place and its foundations tremble. If he commands it, the sun won't rise and the stars won't shine. Listen to how he sounds so faithful in one sense and talks about how God does everything, but yet God caused it. And God, my life is miserable. It's like he's really just back and forth, man. This guy's going through it. He's cutting his boils. He shaved his head, putting dirt on his head. Man, this guy's going through it. Job's going through it. If he commands it, the sun won't rise and stars won't shine. He alone has spread out the heavens and marches on the waves of the sea. Verse 9. He made all the stars. We're going to hear more about this later in Job. This is amazing. A lot of stars. So we're going to learn about stars. The Bear and Orion, the Pleiades, and the constellations of the southern sky. You're guys going to hear about constellations tonight. Verse 10. He does great things, too marvelous to understand. He performs countless miracles. Yet when he comes near, I cannot see him. When he moves by, I do not see him go. If he snatches someone in death, that's the rapture, right? Rapturus, harpazo. Who can stop him? Who dares to ask, what are you doing? And God does not restrain his anger. Even the monsters of the sea are crushed beneath his feet. So who am I that I should try to answer God or even reason with him? Even if I were right, I would have no defense. I could only plead for mercy. And even if I summoned him and he responded, I'm not sure he would listen to me. For he attacks me with a storm and repeatedly wounds me without cause, which isn't true. Satan did that. He will not let me catch my breath. Remember, it was just one thing after the other. His personal property, his kids, then his body. He lost everything. He will not even let me catch my breath. Remember, back to back. But fills me instead with bitter sorrows. If it's a question of strength, he's the wrong one. He's the strong one. If it's a matter of justice, who dares to summon him to court? Though I'm innocent, my own mouth would pronounce me guilty. Though I'm blameless, it would prove me wicked. In other words, he knows he's wicked. He knows he sins. He knows he's not innocent. But look how he words it. I'm innocent, but it makes no difference to me. I despise my life. Innocent or wicked, it's all the same to God. That's why I say he destroys both the blameless and the wicked. He doesn't understand God. When a plague sweeps through, he laughs at the death of the innocent. That's definitely not God. These are debates you guys hear with people. God takes innocent lives. He allows kids to die. These are answering questions like that. Job, this book of Job answers all kinds of life's questions, guys. The whole earth is in his hands. The whole earth is in the hands of the wicked, and God the hands of the wicked, right? And God blinds the eyes of the judges. Oh, the judges, they can't think for themselves. God doesn't give them the option. He sure does. If he's not the one who does it, who is? My life passes more swiftly than a runner. It flees away without a glimpse of happiness. It disappears like a swift papyrus boat, like an eagle swooping down on its prey. If I decided to forget my complaints, to put away my sad face and be cheerful, I would still dread all the pain, for I know you will not find me innocent, O God. Whatever happens, I will be found guilty. So what's the use of trying? Even if I were to wash myself with soap and clean my hands with lye, you would plunge me into a muddy ditch, and my own filthy clothing would hate me. Wow. You guys, God is not immortal like me, so I cannot argue with him or take him to trial. In other words, God's not fair. If only there was a mediator between us, someone who could bring us together. Now, I don't know how else to put this to y'all. I haven't said a lot, but if there's something you circle Job 9:33, because I'm going to read this slowly and wait for the radar. Wait for the bell. I want you to wait for the bell in your head to go off when I read this. This is like, if only there was a mediator between us. Well, turns out there is a mediator right now interceding for us in prayer right now at the right hand of the Father. His name is Jesus, the Christ. He is the high priest, which means mediator. And that doesn't mean a priest on earth like a Catholic priest. That is not what it means. He is a priest in heaven. He is the mediator. So verse 33, boy, too bad he didn't know Jesus. If only there was a mediator between us, and there sure is. Someone who could bring us together. Job is like the guy that knows there's a God or knows God or heard of God. He's a good guy, but he doesn't really know the Father. There's a lot of people I know like that. You see? He's a good guy. Just like there was a couple guys in the book of Acts who were great guys, but didn't know Jesus, didn't know the Father. I can think it was Barnabas or Cornelius, one of the two. If only there was a mediator between us, someone who could bring us together. Well, Emmanuel, God with us, the tabernacle. God can't, listen, man can't go to space without a spacesuit, and God ain't coming to earth without an earth suit. John 1:1, John 1:14, in the beginning was the Word. John 14 says, the Word became flesh, dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory. Jesus came wrapped in flesh through Mary, favored, not divine, by the way, not Mother Mary, not in the Catholic belief, Mother Mary. It's not what I'm saying. She was favored, her bloodline, but she's not divine. If only there was a mediator between us, somebody that we can't look at God and live. We can't get to God, so what does God do? He comes to us. That's what Christianity is. Religions, when we try to get to God. He comes to us in the form of his Son. He wraps himself in flesh. In the smallest town of 10,000, makes himself of no regard in the body of a shepherd boy. He comes little so he can relate to us. If only there was a mediator between us. Well, there is. His name's Jesus. Someone who could bring us together. His name's Jesus. The mediator could make God stop beating me, and I would no longer live in terror of his punishment. Well, he doesn't quite understand God. That's obvious. Then I could speak to him without fear. Well, they said, if you've seen me, you've already seen the Father. Jesus said that. If you've seen me, you've already seen the Father. He made man in his own image. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Look at verse 35. Then I could speak to him without fear, but I cannot do that in my own strength. Well, you're right about that. You don't have the strength to do it. Jesus does. Chapter 10. Job continues a plea to God. I am disgusted with my life, verse 1, Job 10. Let me complain freely. My bitter soul must complain. I will say to God, don't simply condemn me. Tell me the charge you're bringing against me. What do you gain by oppressing me? Why do you respect me? The work of your own hands while smiling on the schemes of the wicked? Are your eyes like those of a human? Do you see things only as people see them? Is your lifetime only as long as ours? Is your life so short that you must quickly probe for my guilt and search for my sin? Although you know I'm not guilty, no one can rescue me from your hands. Verse 8, you formed me with your hands. Boy, you're starting to get into Genesis, buddy. Job, are you speaking prophecy right now? For these people in 2026 that are listening to me right now, you formed me with your hands. Remember John the Baptist? Leaped in his mother's womb. I formed you with my hands. You made me, yet now you completely destroy me. You almost got it right, Job. Remember that you made me from the dust. He sure did. Will you turn me back to dust again? Dust you shall return. In a sense, yeah. Remember that you made me from dust. Will you turn me back to dust so soon? You guided my conception and formed me in the womb. You got that right, Job. You got a lot of this stuff right. You clothed me with skin and flesh. You got that right. And you knit my bones and sinews together. You got that right too. Verse 11, you clothed me with skin and flesh. We were covered in glory. We walked away from him, and then we got bodies, human flesh. And you knit my bones and sinews together. You gave me life and showed me your unfailing love. My life was preserved by your care. Yet your real motive, here's where he's getting it wrong. Your true intent was to watch me, and if I sinned, you would not forgive my guilt. He's basically saying, you're like a mean God, and we're ants, and you're using your magnifying glass to burn us and torture us. No. Yet your real motive, your true intent, was to watch me, and if I sinned, you would not forgive my guilt. If I'm guilty, too bad for me. And even if I'm innocent, I can't hold my head high because I'm filled with shame and misery. And if I hold my head high, you hunt me like a lion and display your awesome power against me. Boy, this guy complains. I'm talking about, you think you complain. Wow. Again and again, you witness against me. You pour out your growing anger on me and bring fresh armies against me. Such a good word, brother. Why then did you deliver me from my mother's womb? Why didn't you let me die at birth? It'd be as though I had never existed, going directly from the womb to the grave. Just get over with, right? I have only a few days left, so leave me alone, that I may have a moment of comfort before I leave, never to return, for the land of darkness and utter gloom. It is a land as dark as midnight, a land of gloom and confusion, where even the light is dark as midnight. Yep, that's because you haven't heard about heaven yet, my friend. See, you almost got it right, but not quite. This is a good word, Johnny. I love it. Chapter 11. Zophar speaks. He's got 3 friends. You deserve worse. Wow, these are some great friends. Let's see how great this friend is. Job chapter 11, verse 1. Then Zophar the Naamathite replied to Job, shouldn't someone answer this tormented words? This torrent of words? Is a person proved innocent just by a lot of talking? Should I remain silent while you babble on? Wow, well, that's really sensitive of you, man. Good job, Zophar. Nice friend. Great friend. I'm glad my buddy Johnny's not like that. Should I remain silent while you babble on? When you mock God, shouldn't someone make you ashamed? You claim my beliefs are pure and I'm clean in the sight of God. If only God would speak. If only he would tell you what he thinks. If only he would tell you the secrets of wisdom, for true wisdom is not a simple matter. Listen, God is doubtless punishing you far less than you deserve. Wow, you deserve worse than that, Job. Wow, I just lost my family, my friend, my food, my livestock. And you're like, well, you deserve worse. Well, those are very sweet words. Thank you for being my friend. If I have friends like you, please go away. I don't need you as a friend, right? Can you solve the mysteries, verse 7, of God? Can you discover everything about the Almighty? Such knowledge is higher than the heavens. And who are you? It's deeper than the underworld. What do you know? It's broader than the earth and wider than the sea. If God comes and puts a person in prison or calls the court to order, who can stop him? For he knows those who are false, and he takes note of all their sins. An empty-headed person won't become wise anymore, any more than a wild donkey can bear a human child. If only you would prepare your heart and lift up your hands to him in prayer. Boy, wow, what a guy. Well, if you could just serve him more, man. Look what you did wrong. Wow, what a great friend. He says in verse 14, get rid of your sins and leave all iniquity behind you. Job, you messed up. That's why this is happening. Boy, is he wrong. Then your face will brighten with innocence. You'll be strong and free of fear. You'll forget your misery and it'll be like water flowing away. Your life will be brighter than the noonday. Even darkness will be as bright as morning. Wow, the darkness will look as bright as morning. Your life will be brighter than the noonday. Even darkness will be brighter as the morning. Having hope will give you courage. You'll be protected and will rest in safety. You will lie down unafraid, and many will look to you for help. But the wicked will be blinded. They have no escape. Their only hope is death. Well, it gets worse for them than death. Chapter 12. We're not going to read a whole lot more tonight, but we're getting there. We're knocking out a good chunk. So Job replies again. Here we go. Job 12:1. There's a conversation, 3 friends back and forth to Job, and they're awful friends. Then Job spoke again. You people really know everything, don't you? And when you die, wisdom will die with you? And when you die, wisdom will die with you. Well, I know a few things myself, and you're no better than I am. Who doesn't know these things you've been saying? Yet my friends laugh at me, for I call on God and expect an answer. I'm a just and blameless man, yet they laugh at me. People are at ease. People who are at ease mock those in trouble. It's nice to, you can make fun of people when you're having a good time, right? They give a push to people who are stumbling. Those people, boy, kick me while I'm down. But robbers are left in peace, and those who provoke God live in safety, though God keeps them in his power. Man, thank you, Johnny. Just ask the animals and they will teach you. Ask the birds of the sky and they will tell you. Speak to the earth and it will instruct you. Let the fish in the sea speak to you. For they all know that the disaster has come from the hand of the Lord. Ha, that's not true. You got that wrong. For the life of every living thing is in his hand. They're right about that. And the breath of every human being. That's true. You got it. And right part, he's just mixing things up, man. He's got it partially right, partially wrong. The ear tests the words it hears just as the mouth distinguishes between foods. Ooh, that's good. That's poetry. Wisdom belongs to the aged and understanding to the old. But, verse 13, true wisdom and power are found in God. He's right, Isaiah 11:2. I mean, it's like right, wrong. It's just like the kingdoms. They had it right, they had it wrong, had it right. It's the same pattern. But true wisdom and power are found in God. True. Counsel and understanding are his. That's right. Isaiah 11:2. Verse 14. What he destroys cannot be rebuilt. This stuff's real, man. When he puts someone in prison, there's no escape. If he holds back the rain, the earth becomes a desert. If he releases the waters, they flood the earth. Yes, strength and wisdom are his. Deceivers and deceived are both in his power. He leads counselors away, stripped of good judgment. Not true. Wise judges become fools. He removes the royal robe of kings. This guy's so mixed up, man. He removes the royal robe of kings. They are led away with ropes around their waist. He leads priests away, stripped of status. He overthrows those with long years and power. He silences the trusted advisor and removes the insight of the elders. He pours disgrace upon princes and disarms the strong. He uncovers mysteries hidden in darkness. He brings light to the deepest gloom. He builds up nations and he destroys them. He expands nations and he abandons them. He strips kings of understanding and leaves them wandering in a pathless wasteland. They grope in the darkness without a light. He makes them stagger like drunkards. Chapter 13. Job continues, still I will hope in God. Look, I've seen all this with my own eyes and heard it with my own ears, and now I understand. I know as much as you do. You are no better than I am, for as for me, I would speak directly to the Almighty. I want to argue my case with God himself. As for you, you smear me with lies. As physicians, you are worthless quacks. If only you could be silent. That's the wisest thing you could do. Listen to my charge. Pay attention to my arguments. Are you defending God with lies? Do you make your dishonest arguments for his sake? Will you slant your testimony in his favor? Will you argue God's case for him? What will happen when he finds out what you're doing? Can you fool him as easily as you fool people? No, you'll be in trouble with him if you secretly slant your testimony in his favor. Doesn't his majesty terrify you? Doesn't your fear of him overwhelm you? Your platitudes are valuable as ashes. Your defense is as fragile as a clay pot. Be silent now and leave me alone. Let me speak and I will face the consequences. Verse 14. Why should I put myself in mortal danger and take my life in my own hands? God might kill me, but I have no other hope. I'm going to argue my case with him. But this is what will save me. I'm not godless. If I were, I could not stand before him. Listen closely to what I'm about to say. Hear me out. Verse 18. I prepared my case. I will be proved innocent. Who can argue with me over this? And if you prove me wrong, I will remain silent and die. Oh God, grant me these two things, and then I will be able to face you. Remove your heavy hand from me, and don't terrify me with your awesome presence. Now summon me, and I will answer, or let me speak to you, and you reply. Tell me, what have I done wrong? Show me my rebellion and my sin. Why do you turn away from me? Why do you treat me as your enemy? Would you terrify a leaf blown by the wind? Would you chase dry straw? You write bitter accusations against me and bring up all the sins of my mouth. You put my feet in stocks. You examine all my paths. You trace all my footprints. I waste away like rotting wood, like a moth-eaten coat. Chapter 14. Just about done here. Job chapter 14, verse 1. How frail is humanity, how short is life, how full of trouble. We blossom like a flower and then wither. Like a passing shadow, we quickly disappear. Must you keep an eye on such a frail creature and demand an accounting from me? Who can bring purity out of an impure person? No one. You've decided the length of our lives. You know how many months we will live, and we are not given a minute longer. So leave us alone and let us rest. We are like hired hands, so let us finish our work in peace. Even a tree has more hope. If it's cut down, it will sprout again and grow new branches. Though its roots have grown old on the earth and its stump decays, at the scent of water it will bud and sprout again like a new seedling. But when people die, their strength is gone. They breathe their last, and then where are they? This is an allude to he doesn't understand that there's a life after death. You see this? They breathe their last, and then where are they? That's a good word right there. But when people die, their strength is gone, and they breathe their last, and then where are they? As water evaporates from a lake and a river disappears in drought, people are laid to rest and do not rise again until the heavens are no more. They will not wake up nor be roused from their sleep. I wish you would hide me in the grave and forget me there until your anger has passed, but mark your calendar to think of me again. Can the dead live again? If so, this would give me hope through all my years of struggle, and I would eagerly await the release of death. You would call, and I would answer, and you would yearn for me and your handiwork. For then you would guard my steps instead of watching for my sins. Like, he thinks that God's just like mean. My sins would be sealed in the pouch, and you would cover my guilt. But instead, as mountains fall and crumble, and as rocks fall from a cliff, as water wears away the stones and floods wash away the soil, so you destroy people's hope. You always overthrow them, and they pass from the scene. You disfigure them in death and send them away, which is all not true. People say this stuff today, right? They never know if their children grow up in honor or sink in insignificance. Chapter 15. Eliphaz now accuses Job, does not fear God, right? So this is the same accusation, back and forth. Three friends, back and forth with Job, having this dialogue, giving him a hard time, not helping him. They waited seven days, kept quiet, and then put him down. So good job. Tell you what, just go back home, leave Job alone. Job 15:1. Then Eliphaz the Temanite replied, a wise man wouldn't answer with such empty talk. You are nothing but a windbag. Well, that was sweet. The wise don't engage in empty chatter. What good are such words? Have you no fear of God, no reverence for him? Your sins are telling your mouth what to say. You're a sinner, Job. You did this. Your words are based on clever deception. Your own mouth condemns you, not I. Your own lips testify against you. Were you the first person ever born? Were you born before the hills were made? Were you listening to God's secret counsel? Do you have a monopoly on wisdom? What do you know that we don't? What do you understand that we do not? On our side are aged, gray-haired men, much older than your father. Is God's comfort too little for you? Is God's comfort too little for you? Is his gentle word not enough? What has taken away your reason? What has weakened your vision that you turn against God and say all these evil things? Can any mortal be pure? Can anyone born of a woman be just? Look, God does not even trust the angels. Boy, they got this stuff mixed up. Even the heavens are not absolutely pure in his sight. Verse 16, how much less pure is a corrupt and sinful person with a thirst for wickedness? If you will listen, I will show you. I will answer you from my own experience. Oh, you know so much. Such a wise guy, right? And it's confirmed by the reports of wise men who have heard the same thing from their fathers, from those to whom the land was given long before any foreigners arrived. The wicked writhe in pain throughout their lives. Years of trouble are stored up for the ruthless. The sound of terror rings in their ears, and even on good days they fear the attack of the destroyer. They dare not to go out in the darkness for fear they will be murdered. They wander around saying, "Where can I find bread?" They know their day of destruction is near. That dark day terrifies them. They live in distress and anguish like a king preparing for battle. For they shake their fists at God, defying the Almighty. Holding their strong shields, they defiantly charge against him. These wicked people are heavy and prosperous. Their waists bulge with fat. But their cities will be ruined. They will live in abandoned houses that are ready to tumble down. Their riches will not last, and their wealth will not endure. Their possessions will no longer spread across the horizon. They will not escape the darkness. The burning sun will wither their shoots, and the breath of God will destroy them. Let them no longer fool themselves by trusting in empty riches, for emptiness will be their only reward. They will be cut down in the prime of life. Their branches will never again be green. They will be like a vine whose grapes were harvested too early, like an olive tree that loses its blossoms before the fruit can form. For the godless are barren. Their homes, enriched through bribery, will burn. They conceive trouble and give birth to evil. Their womb produces deceit. So now Job's going to reply, miserable comforters are you. Watch this. He replies again. So this is back and forth, same dialogue. Chapter 16, verse 1. Then Job spoke again. I have heard all this before. What miserable comforters are you? That's a good point, man. You guys are terrible friends. What miserable comforters are you are. Won't you ever stop blowing hot air? What makes you keep on talking? I could say the same things if you were in my place. I could spout off criticism and shake my head at you. But if it were me, I would encourage you. He would encourage where they're not encouraging Job. I would try to take away your grief. Instead, I suffer and I offend myself, and I suffer no less if I refuse to speak. Oh God, you have ground me down and devastated my family as if to prove I've sinned. You've reduced me to skin and bones. My gaunt flesh testifies against me. Verse 9, God hates me and angrily it's obviously he doesn't hate him. But notice he doesn't curse God. God hates me and angrily tears me apart, which is not true. He snaps his teeth at me and pierces me with his eyes. People jeer and laugh at me. They slap my cheek in contempt. A mob gathers against me. God has handed me over to sinners. He has tossed me into the hands of the wicked. I do too, buddy. I was living quietly until he shattered me. He took me by the neck and broke me into pieces. Then he sat me up as his target. Wow, this guy's just going on about it. And now his archers, but you know what? You would too if you lost that much. And now his archers surround me. His arrows, which isn't true, his arrows pierce me without mercy. The ground is wet with my blood. Again and again he smashes against me, charging at me like a warrior. I wear burlap to show my grief. My pride lies in the dust. My eyes are red with weeping. Dark shadows circle my eyes. Yet I have done no wrong. And my prayer is pure. We've all sinned, but even though he was upright, my prayer is pure. O earth, do not conceal my blood. Let it cry out on my behalf. That should be echo something in Revelation. Even now my witness is in heaven. My advocate is there on high. Well, he's right about that. In a sense, my friends scorn me, but I pour out my tears to God. I need someone to mediate between God and me. Hint, hint. Would that be Jesus? As a person mediates between friends, he's our friend. Come on, somebody. For as soon as I must go down that road from which I will never return. Chapter 8, 17. We're almost done. So Job will continue. My spirit's crushed and my life is nearly snuffed out. The grave is ready to receive me. I'm surrounded by mockers. Sounds a lot like Jesus on the cross, doesn't it? Listen carefully. Listen carefully. I watch how bitterly they taunt me. You must defend my innocence, O God, since no one else will stand up for me. You've closed their minds to understanding, but do not let them triumph. They betray their friends for their own advantage, so let their children faint with hunger. God has made a mockery of me among the people. They spit in my face. Sound like Jesus on the cross? My goodness. My eyes are swollen with weeping, and I'm but a shadow of my former self. Remember his skin sunk in on the cross? Think about this. Verse 8, The virtuous are horrified when they see me. The innocent rise up against the ungodly. Verse 9. The righteous keep moving forward, and those with clean hands become stronger and stronger. As for all of you, come back with a better argument. Though I still won't find a wise man among you. My days are over. My hopes have disappeared. My heart's desires are broken. These men say that night is day. They claim that darkness is light. What if I go to the grave and make my bed in darkness? What if I call the grave my father and the maggot my mother or my sister? Where then is my hope? Can anyone find it? No, my hope will go down with me to the grave. We will rest together in the dust. Wow, it's poetry, but it's awful poetry, but it's good poetry. It's amazing. Now Bildad speaks again. Not a good friend. Then Bildad to Shuhite replied, how long before you stop talking? Speak sense if you want us to answer. Oh, good job, buddy. Way to console him. Do you think we're mere animals? Do you think we're stupid? You may tear out your hair in anger, but will that destroy the earth? Will it make the rocks tremble? You may tear out your hair. Surely the light of the wicked will be snuffed out. The sparks of their fire will not glow. The light in their tent will go dark. The lamp hanging above them will be quenched. Verse 7. The confident stride of the wicked will be shortened. Their own schemes will be their downfall. The wicked walk into a net. They fall into a pit. A trap grabs them by the heel. A snare holds them tight. A noose. Ooh, this reminds me of Proverbs. A noose lies hidden on the ground. A rope is stretched across their path. Terrors surround the wicked and trouble them at every step. Hunger depletes their strength and calamity waits for them to stumble. Disease eats their skin and devours their limbs. And death devours their limbs. They are torn from the security of their homes and are brought down to the king of terrors. The king of terrors is another name for something else. You can do research on that. The homes of the wicked will burn down. Burning sulfur rains on their houses. Sulfur is a parallel to the Revelation, to the end times, to fire. So let's think about that. Their roots will dry up and their branches will wither. All memory of their existence will fade from the earth. No one will remember their names. I want you to notice this. Jesus is the branch that talks about the roots drying up in the end times. Your name will be removed from the book of life. Reminds me of all memory of their existence will fade from the earth. No one will remember their names. Any parallels? Much? Verse 18, they will be thrust from light into darkness. That sounds a whole lot like the bottomless pit or like hell. Driven from the world. They will have neither children nor grandchildren nor any survivor in the place where they lived. People in the west are appalled at their fate. People in the east are horrified. They will say, this was the home of a wicked person, the place of one who rejected God. Chapter 19, I believe that's where we're going to wrap it up tonight. Yeah, last chapter tonight. So Job's going to reply again, the Redeemer lives. His Redeemer lives. I love how his responses are bad and good, but then he also speaks truth, but then he's confused. It's really weird. We made it through tonight. Chapter 19, I could even go further, but we're going to wrap it up here. Job spoke again. Then Job spoke again. How long will you torture me? How long will you try to crush me with your words? You've already insulted me 10 times. You should be ashamed of treating me so badly. Even if I have sinned, that's my concern, not yours. It is, buddy, I know. You think you're better than I am, using my humiliation as evidence of my sin? But it is God who has wronged me. That's not true, though. He's right and wrong constantly, capturing me in his net. I cry out, help, but no one answers me. I protest, but there's no justice. God has blocked my way so I cannot move. He's plunged my path into darkness. He stripped me of my honor and removed the crown from my head. Boy, that sounds very strangely similar to something else. He's demolished me on every side and I'm finished. Wow. Jesus says, it is finished to Telestai. Is that ironic that this says he has demolished me on every side and I am finished? This is showing us something, if you guys pay attention. He has uprooted my hope like a fallen tree. Jesus was hung on a tree. That's interesting. His fury burns against me. He counts me as an enemy. His troops advance. They build up roads to attack me. They camp all around my tent. The dogs camped about him. Psalms 22, that happened at the cross. I'm just saying. My relatives stay far away and my friends have turned against me. That happened to Jesus. They all left him. Jesus had no one. They already knew him and rejected him. My father stays far away. He turned his face. God turned his face. You guys, do you hear what's happening? My relatives stay far away, and my friends, that was his father, have turned against me. My family's gone, and my close friends have forgotten me. My servants and maids consider me a stranger. I'm like a foreigner to them. When I call my servant, he doesn't come. I have to plead with him. My breath is repulsive to my wife. I'm rejected by my own family. So was Jesus. He's rejected in a place he created. Ah, man. Even young children despise me. When I stand to speak, they turn their backs on me. My close friends detest me. That's Jesus. Those I loved have turned against me. That's Jesus. I've been reduced to skin and bones. That's quoted on Psalms 22 and Jesus on the cross. And have escaped death by the skin of my teeth. Have mercy on me, my friends. Have mercy, for the land of God has struck me. For the hand of God has struck me. My goodness. Must you also persecute me like God does? Haven't you chewed me up enough? Oh, that my words could be recorded. Oh, that they could be inscribed on a monument. Carved with an iron chisel and filled with lead, engraved forever in the rock. But as for me, I know that my Redeemer lives. Woo, you get some stuff right. Engraved forever in the rock. I don't know, the finger of God up in Mount Sinai with Moses. That's interesting. But as for me, I know that my Redeemer lives, and he will stand upon the earth at last. That's so true. And after my body is decayed, yet in my body I will see God. Yep. You get a glorified body. I will see him for myself. The Bible says that we see him partially, I forget how it's worded, but in part, but when we see him face to face, we'll see him as he sees us. That's interesting. We will see him for myself. Yes, I will see him with my own eyes. Moses could look at him and live. I am overwhelmed at the thought. How dare you go on persecuting me, saying it's his own fault? You should fear punishment yourselves, for your attitude deserves punishment. Then you will know that there is indeed a judgment. So I was going to stop right here, but you mean to read another chapter, Johnny? Because it's going so smooth. We're already, if I get halfway, then tomorrow, if I just do 1 or 2 more chapters, I can finish it up tomorrow night and be done. Done with Job. We could just double up. Like if I read 1 more chapter or 2 more chapters, tomorrow it can just be the other half of Job, and we're moving on to Psalms. Let me know, John, before I move on. What do you think? You want 1 more chapter? You want to be done, or 2 more chapters? Good. Or you want 1 or 2 more chapters, John? This is a great book. Good poetry. And what do you think, Johnny? 1 or 2 or no? Hurry up. Give me word. It's going to be good. I'm just taking a quick breather while John gives me a good, let me know. 1 or 2 chapters or none? I don't think anybody's on Facebook Live. You guys are missing out. It's a good word, man. I'm feeding it to y'all. I can't make you drink it, but I'm bringing it right to your face on social media, y'all. I wish there wasn't a 20-second delay on Facebook, but Johnny, you want me to do 1 more book or 2 or none? I'll wrap it up. Let me know. Sounds like a very good plan. 2 more Yeah, Johnny, you're a trooper. Let's do this. Tomorrow's going to be easy. We're doing chapter 21. So, chapter 20, verse 1. John's awesome. The wicked will suffer. Here we go again. Then Zophar the Naamathite replied, I must reply because I'm greatly disturbed. Terrible friends. 20-second delay, yeah. I've had to endure your insults, but now my spirit prompts me to reply. Don't you realize that from the beginning of time, ever since people were first placed on the earth, the triumph of the wicked has been short-lived and the joy of the godless has been only temporary? He says, get it. Though the pride of the godless reach to the heavens and their heads touch the clouds, yet they will vanish forever, thrown away like their own dung. Those who knew them will ask, where are they? They will fade like a dream and not to be found. They will vanish like a vision in the night. Boy, he's so wrong. See, this is back and forth trying to understand God, but they're just not getting it right. Those who once saw them will see them no more. Their families will never see them again. Their children will beg from the poor, for they must give back their stolen riches. Though they are young, their bones will lie in the dust. They enjoy the sweet taste of wickedness, letting it melt under their tongue. They savored it, holding it long in their mouths. But suddenly, the food in their bellies turned sour, a poisonous venom in their stomach. They will vomit the wealth they swallowed. God won't let them keep it down. Ooh. They will suck the poison of cobras. The viper will kill them. They will never again enjoy streams of olive oil or rivers of milk and honey. That's a quote from the Old Testament as well, further back. They will get back everything they worked for. Their wealth will bring them no joy, for they oppressed the poor and left them destitute. They foreclosed on their homes. They were always greedy and never satisfied. Nothing remains of all the things they dreamed about. Nothing is left after they finish gorging themselves. Therefore, their prosperity will not endure. In the midst of plenty, they will run into trouble and be overcome by misery. May God give them a belly full of trouble. May God rain down his anger upon them. When they try to escape an iron weapon, a bronze-tipped arrow will pierce them. The arrow is pulled from their back, and the arrowhead glistens with blood. The terrors of death are upon them. Their treasures will be thrown into deepest darkness. A wildfire will devour their goods. This sounds a whole lot like the end of times during hell. A wildfire will devour their goods, consuming all they have left. The heavens will reveal their guilt, and the earth will testify against them. Funny, the earth destroys itself at the end of times. A flood will sweep away their house. Floods are mentioned. God's anger will descend on them in torrents, and it sure does during the judgments. This is the reward that God gives the wicked. It is the inheritance decreed by God. When you think of reward, it's not always good. It's something you earned. You're going to get what you earned. If you're on your way to hell, you're going to get exactly what you earned in judgment. Chapter 21, we're going to wrap it up here tonight. Job replies again, and he says the wicked do prosper. So I love how he's defending God's teaching God, but doesn't quite get it right. It's funny. Last book, Job 21:1. This is 21 chapters tonight. Then Job spoke again. Listen closely to what I'm saying, he says. That's one consolation you can give me. Bear with me and let me speak. After I've spoken, you may resume mocking me. Look at that. My complaint is with God, not with people. Notice he doesn't curse God, though. I have good reason to be so impatient. Look at me and be stunned. Put your hand over your mouth in shock. In other words, he needs a little empathy. When I think about what I'm saying, I shudder. My body trembles. Why do the wicked prosper, growing old and powerful? They live to see their children grow up and settle down, and they enjoy their grandchildren. People nowadays complain about that. We can't control the good things that happen to the bad things that happen to the good things. Some people have it made and they're not good people, and vice versa. That's why the story of Job is not about his worn and merited merits. It's just the way things are when sin's present. Their homes are safe from every fear, and God does not punish them. Their bulls never fail to breed. Their cows bear calves and never miscarry. They let their children frisk about like lambs. In other words, they can eat whatever they want, do whatever they want. Their little ones skip and dance. They're all happy because they have it made, right? In other words, he just went through hell and back, and they have it made. They sing with tambourine and harp. They celebrate to the sound of the flute. Listen, Job complained a lot. We can recover from it, but this is a lesson. We don't deserve to complain. It's Job. They sing with tambourine and harp. They celebrate the sound of the flute. They spend their days in prosperity, then go down to the grave in peace. And yet they say to God, go away. We want no part of you and your ways. Who is the Almighty, and why should we obey him? What good will it do us to pray? They think their prosperity is of their own doing, but I will have nothing to do with that kind of thinking. Yet the light of the wicked never seems to be extinguished. Do they ever have trouble? Does God distribute sorrows to them in anger? Are they driven before the wind like straw? Are they carried away by the storm like chaff? Not at all. Well, you say at least God will punish their children, but I say he should punish the ones who sin so that they understand his judgment. Let them see their destruction with their own eyes. Let them drink deeply of the anger of the Almighty, for they will not care what happens to their family after they're dead. But who can teach a lesson to God, since he judges even the most powerful? One person dies in prosperity, completely comfortable and secure, the picture of good health, vigorous and fit. Another person dies in bitter poverty, never have tasted the good life. This sounds like people you know, people that I've lost, friends of mine. But both are buried in the same dust, both eaten by the same maggots. Look, I know what you're thinking. I know the schemes you plot against me. You will tell me of rich and wicked people whose houses have vanished because of their sins. But ask those who have been around, and they will tell you the truth. The evil people are spared in times of calamity and are allowed to escape disaster. No one criticizes them openly or pays them back for what they've done. When they are carried to the grave, an honor guard keeps watch of their tomb. A great funeral procession goes to the cemetery. Many pay the respects as the body is laid to rest and the earth gives sweet repose. How can your empty cliches comfort me? All your explanation are lies.